eyes. Necessity has no law. He could trust no other person, so he put her in boy's clothes that there might be less risk. Still, she must have been very intelligent to have done the office." "She is 13 years old, although she is small," replied Edward, "and intelligent she certainly is, as you may see by her countenance. Who would ever have imagined that our sisters would have been able to do what they are doing now? It's an old saying, we never know what we can do till we try. By the by, Humphrey, I met a famous herd of forest ponies the other day, and I said to myself, I wonder whether Humphrey will be clever enough to take one of them, as he has the wild cattle. For Billy is getting old, and we want a successor." "We want more than a successor to Billy, Edward. We want two more to help him, and I have the means of maintaining two more ponies if I could catch them." "I fear that you will never manage that, Humphrey," said Edward, laughing. "I know well what you mean," replied Humphrey. "You wish to dare me to it. Well, I won't be dared to anything, and I most certainly will try to catch a pony or two, but I must think about it first, and when I have arranged my plan in my mind, I will then make the attempt." "When I see the ponies in the yard, I will believe it, Humphrey. They are as wild as deer and as fleet as the wind, and you can not catch them in a pitfall." "I know that, good brother, but all I can say is, that I will try what I can do, and I can do no more, but not at present, for I am too busy." 3 days after this conversation, Oswald Partridge made his appearance, having been sent by the Intendant to tell Edward that he should come over on the following day to take away little Clara. "And how is she to go?" said Edward. "He will bring a little nag for her, if she can ride. If she cannot, she must ride in the cart which will come for the baggage. Clara, can you ride a horse?" "Yes," replied Clara, "if it does not jump about too much. I always rode one when I lived in Dorsetshire." "This won't jump about, my little lady," said Oswald, for he is 30 years old, I believe, and as steady as an old gentleman ought to be. "I have had some conversation with Master Heatherstone," continued Oswald to Edward. "He is much pleased with you, I can tell you. He said that in times like these he required young men like you about him, and that, as you would not take the berth of Verderer, he must find one better suited for you, for he said you were too good for such an office." "Many thanks to him for his good opinion," replied Edward, "but I do not think that he has any office in his gift which I can accept." "So I thought, but I said nothing. He again asked many questions relative to old Jacob Armitage, and he pressed me very hard. He said that Humphrey was as much above his position in appearance as you were, but as he was brought up in Arnwood, he presumed that he had had the same advantages. And then he said, but were his two sisters brought up at Arnwood also? I replied that I believed not, although they were often there, and were allowed to play with the children of the house. He looked at me steadfastly, as if he would read my thoughts, and then went on writing. I can not help thinking that he has a suspicion that you are not the grandchildren of old Jacob, but at the same time I do not think that he has an idea who you really are." "You must keep our secret, Oswald," replied Edward. "I have a very good opinion of the Intendant, I acknowledge, but I will trust nobody." "As I hope for future mercy, sir, I never will divulge it until you bid me," replied Oswald. "I trust to you, Oswald, and so there's an end to the matter. But tell me, Oswald, what do they say about his taking charge of this little girl?" "Why, they did begin to talk about it, but when he gave out that it was the order of Parliament that the child should remain with him until further directions, of course they said nothing, for they dared not. It seems that the Ratcliffe property is sequestrated, but not yet granted to any one, and the Parliament will most likely, as soon as she is old enough, give her as a wife with the property to one of their party. They have done it before now, and it secures the property under all changes." "I perceive," replied Edward. "When did you hear that the little girl was to live with him?" "Not till yesterday morning, and it was not till the evening that we knew it was the order of Parliament." Edward did not think it right to tell Oswald what he knew, and it was a secret confided to him by the Intendant, and therefore merely observed, "I presumed that the child would not be permitted to remain on our hands," and then the conversation dropped. As Oswald had informed them, the Intendant made his appearance in the forenoon of the following day, and was accompanied by his daughter, who rode by his side. A groom on horse led a pony for Clara to ride, and a cart for the luggage followed at some distance. Edward went out to assist Miss Heatherstone to dismount, and she frankly extended her hand to him as she reached the ground. Edward was a little surprised as well as pleased at this condescension on her part towards a forester. "You do me much honor, Mistress Patience," said he, bowing. "I cannot forget that I owe my life to you, Master Armitage," replied Patience, "and I cannot be too grateful. May I request another favor of you?" "Certainly, if it is in my power to do as you wish." "It is this," said she in a low voice, "that you will not hastily reject any overtures which may be made to you by my father. That is all. And now let me go in and see your sisters, for my father has praised them very much, and I wish to know them." Edward led the way into the cottage, and Patience followed him, while the Intendant was in conversation with Humphrey. Edward, having introduced his sisters and Clara, then went out to pay his respects to the Intendant, who, now they were alone, was very candid toward both him and Humphrey. Edward then told the Intendant that there was an iron chest with a good deal of money in it, and jewels also, and many other articles of value in the other boxes. "I fear, sir, that the cart will hardly hold all the goods." "I do not intend to take away the heavy or more bulky articles, such as the bedding, armor, etc. I will only take Clara's own packages, and the valuables and papers. The remainder may stay here, as they can be of no use, till they are demanded from you. Where is Oswald Partridge?" "In the stable with the horses, sir," replied Humphrey. "Then, when the cart is loaded, and it had better be done by you while the men are in the stable, Oswald shall take charge of it, and take the things to my house." "Here are the keys, sir," said Edward, presenting them. "Good. And now, Edward Armitage, that we are alone, I want to have a little conversation with you. You are aware how much I feel indebted to you for the service you have rendered me, and how anxious I am to show my gratitude. You are born for better things than to remain an obscure forester, and perhaps a deer stalker. I have now an offer to make to you, which I trust, upon reflection, you will not refuse; and I say reflection, because I do not wish you to give an answer till you have well reflected. I know that you will not accept anything under the present government, but a private situation you can raise no objection to, the more so as, so far from leaving your family, you will be more in a position to protect them. I am in want of a secretary, and I wish you to accept that office, to live entirely in my house, and to receive a handsome salary for your services, which will not, I trust, be too heavy. You will be near to your family here in the cottage, and be able to protect them and assist them, and what is more, you will mix with the world and know what is going on, as I am in the confidence of the government. Of course I put implicit confidence in you, and I would not offer the situation. But you will not be always down here. I have my correspondents and friends, to whom I shall have to send you occasionally on most trusty missions. You, I am sure, will suit me in every respect, and I hope you will undertake the post which I now offer to you. Give me no answer just now. Consult with your brother, and give the offer due consideration, and when you have made up your mind you can let me know." Edward bowed, and the Intendant went into the cottage. Edward then assisted Humphrey and Pablo to get the iron chest on the cart, and covered it with the other packages and boxes, till the cart was well loaded. Leaving Pablo in charge till Oswald came from the stables, Edward and Humphrey then went into the cottage, where they found a very social party, Patience Heatherstone having succeeded in making great friends with the other three girls, and the Intendant, to Edward's surprise, laughing and joking with them. Alice and Edith had brought out some milk, biscuits, and all the fruit that was ripe, with some bread, a cold piece of salt beef, and a ham, and they were eating as well as talking. "I have been praising your sister's housekeeping, Armitage," said the Intendant. "Your farm appears to be very productive." "Alice expected Miss Heatherstone, sir," replied Edward, "and made an unusual provision. You must not think that we live on such fare every day." "No," replied the Intendant dryly. "On other days I dare say you have other fare. I would almost make a bet that there is a pasty in the cupboard which you dare not show to the Intendant of the New Forest." "You are mistaken, sir, for once," replied Humphrey. "Alice knows well how to make one, but she has not one just now." "Well, I must believe you, Master Humphrey."